Hello and welcome to a patch run-through video for the Charlemagne DLC for Crusader Kings 2. Now, I've already played about 20 minutes of the game with the new DLC, and I thought there were a lot of things that I didn't really know what was going on, so I've decided to basically read through the entire patch notes, and well, I thought I should record it. So, things that are under major. Added tribal holdings. I don't know what they do. I believe there's something to do with prestige, but I'm not entirely sure. A learning scenario for new players. That's definitely good. The game is quite hard to get into, so something. Added the centralization law used to control demise size and vassal limit bonuses. So, from what I saw, basically you could have more personal realm size and have less, and be able to have less vassals, or you could have lots of vassals and no personal realm size. So you could have lots and lots of counts, but you'd be weak, or you could have lots of strong king level vassals, but you'd also be strong. So it's interesting. Added an era and character quick selection screen. Quite useful for finding characters that are actually interesting. Although you can get to the new screen pretty easily, and if you want to play Iron Man mode you need to do that. Wars can no longer be won before a major battle has taken place or 3 years have passed. That is quite a big change, because this means that you can no longer win by just running into their territory and assaulting them down, which is a tactic I've used quite a lot. Levies from settlements can now be raised again if they are more than 50% full. Okay, so I guess if the levy reinforces to 50%, you can just raise them again without them to release everybody and then send them back. That's going to help a little bit, because you can keep sending in troops from your vassals, which is good. Resolved crash to desktop when disbanding troops. Didn't know that existed. Didn't know that this bug existed with the coat of arms. Fixed crash to desktop when hovering over create button for titles. Never saw that. Added new decision to go into hiding for characters who are, real or imagined, targets of murder plots. Spouse or children who are targets can also be sent into hiding. So yeah, this is, I think, if you know you're a target of a plot, but you can't actually act against the people who are plotting against you, you just go into hiding. I believe you get a regent. Well, although I haven't tried it. Ibadi is no longer a Sunni heresy, but a separate religion. I don't really play as Muslim religions, but that sounds good. Added a new heresy for Ibadi. Okay. No longer possible to form the Holy Roman Empire if you're not independent. I did not know that was a thing. Added a large number of tribal holdings to map for all start dates. Okay, so tribal holdings must be smaller holdings then, I guess. Removed a large number of obsolete tribal titles and changed others to bring them back in line with the new system. Okay. Added imperial administration law for Byzantine law. Increases vassal limit and allows viceroys to be on both kingdom and duchy, while slightly lowering feudal vassal opinion. I believe viceroys are kind of like vassals that you have to call in to wars, but they'll like you a lot. Like, they're kind of independent but still under your control, which could be quite useful if you can manage their opinions. Fixed crash to desktop with trade posts. Fixed a crash when clicking death reason when a character was killed. Fixed OOS caused by bottleneck logic in combat. Fixed OSS by matchmaking. These are all fixed problems. I don't really care. Apart from this one, fixed problem where AI logic units tried to load the ship sometimes you had to spam the button to get them on a ship a few times. I don't know whether that's the thing. Added Somali culture in East Africa. Let's just correct the mistakes as we go along. And fixed up crash when leaving the tutorial. I remember this from when I first started to play Crusader Kings. There was this, the game kept crashing with the tutorial, so hopefully that's what they fixed here. Minor. We're past the major changes. Fixed an issue where the auto-assign guardian logic for Muslim daughters would repeatedly reassign guardians on some daughters. Okay. Good. Bug fix. Can now select play from the launcher with enter key. Great. Electors in feudal elective that like their liege are now less likely to vote for their liege's pick, but are more likely to vote for candidates of the same dynasty as the liege. Okay, so they're not necessarily going to vote for who you want them to vote for, but they will vote for people who are in your dynasty who they want to vote for. So I'm guessing they'll still be more inclined to vote for someone in your dynasty that you've nominated, but if you're nominating someone who isn't in your dynasty, they're not going to be interested. Flank leaders are now assigned from all sub-unit leaders, not only the ones in that flank. Okay. Liege levies now have leaders. Okay. Winter now severely decreases supply in provinces. Winter is a new thing, I believe. Or, it's at least there's a lot of snow on the map now. Interesting. Added Winter Soldier Commander trait. I assume that means that they get less the army gets less attrition in snow. Gave West African pagans homeland attrition. Okay. Added a load game window to the lobby and added quick access to it in the main menu. Yep, seen that. It is no longer possible for non-looters to siege holdings if you are hostile due to looting. Okay. Loading should be slightly faster. Place the timer for calling allies into a war with a yes/no trigger. When entering a new war, this trigger is reset and you can call allies into war again. Okay, so this means that instead of what it used to be is you could call your ally into, say, a war in Africa. They would say no. And then there'd be a timer, which would mean that you couldn't ask them to join a, let's say, your war in Europe, in Italy, say, until that timer's gone. Now, what will happen is you'll say, you'll declare war in Africa, you'll ask them to join in, they'll say no, but when you enter a new war in Italy, they would say, you'd be able to invite them again into the war again. Yeah. So that's useful. Remove the prestige penalty of declining a call to arms if you have the Broke Alliance opinion modifier towards your ally. So if your ally doesn't join your war, you can just refuse to join theirs. It's kind of cool. We've resolved issue where special units used the wrong graphical model. I believe there was something with camels that didn't appear. Again, don't play that part of the world a lot, so. Fixed bug where opinion modifiers between a character and its liege did not trigger properly. Okay. Opinion modifiers when requesting characters to educate children are now shown when the children is in the right side portrait. I don't know why they don't just make the child in the left side portrait the whole time and keep it consistent, but there you go. Building tooltip in the outliner now shows the correct name for Muslim buildings. Description regarding dowry when offering betrothal/marriage now refers to the bride instead of the liege of the bride. Okay. Resolved bug where law view did not update properly when changing character. Fixed bug where activated plots got frozen when the respective wars did not succeed. Resolved issues where vassals did not properly become independent when their lieges became landless and could not hold any vassal titles. Resolved bug where character titles used the wrong gender localization after reassigning the game. Added missing decision icon for donating money to Tashi. Interaction letter events now have clickable shields next to the character portraits. I believe I've seen this, but I could be wrong. Fixed the bug where landless heirs did not try to take a title from a vassal when inheriting a kingdom title. Okay. All spouses will now move along with courtiers that become landed instead of just moving the first wife. So this would be for Muslims again. Resolve scenario where the Pope ceased to exist. Fixed a bug where nominated bishops were reset after reloading the game. The end game screen now takes the score of your most recent ruler into consideration when resigning from the game. Score doesn't really matter here. Resolved issue where the forbidden to lead armies setting was reset when reloading a save. The royal marriage aid duty event now only triggers once per character. Divorces now cost as much prestige as would be gained upon marrying the character. Females created in the ruler designer will now give you a matrilineal marriage instead of a regular one. Resolved bug where a concubine had a bastard and the opinion penalty was applied to the wife instead of the actual mother. Minor event localization fixes. Okay. The will join a bride plot icon now accurately shows if someone was willing to join your plot or not when bribed. This is huge if it's true, because that was very annoying. Resolved issue where the new content tab showed up every time new DLC were installed. Yep, that happened. Fixed an issue where patrician dowry was never paid as a result of a betrothal. Okay. Opinion and piety bonuses for restoring for restoring the Pope in Rome now only applies the first time that decision is taken. So yes, you could just spam it and get lots and lots of piety. Fixed a bug where traits were not localized properly. Crusades where a claimant got the contested titles will now say so properly in the following event. AI will now always accept a surrender if the AI would also accept a white piece. Also, will now always say accept. Okay, so I guess you could have the white piece, but if you said you wanted to surrender, they'd say no. Bit odd. Fixed incorrect invasion CB descriptors. Dunno. Resolved bug where chaste characters would get married through certain events. Removed depreciated welcome to old god splash screen. Yeah, don't really need that anymore. Fixed event where wife of a Muslim ruler got permission to get divorced but never did so. Lot of tooltips no longer show on an empty on success. Okay. Fixed issue where pilgrimages had multiple outcomes. Fixed bug where children created in the ruler designer could not get educated. Resolved bug where an event would allow imprisonment of characters that was not a vassal of the character. Changed certain feast events suitable only for adults, not as trigger for minors. Added missing localization for Buddhist holy wars. Fixed a bug where holy order titles and family palaces changed succession law when the holder was granted a kingdom. Okay. Right. An event where court chaplain changes religion no longer triggers if your chaplain is head of religion. Okay, so I guess that means that you can't randomly have the Pope becoming Hindu or something. Fix the bug where historical revolts would end up in vassals becoming independent when the war ended. Fix the bug where vassals in revolt could usurp titles, leading to their independence when the revolt ended. Norman culture is now more likely to appear in the game after early starts. The province of Chandat, Crete, is now called Gorton, ruled by Greeks or Italians. Added Celtic names to a large number of titles in Britain. Improvements to the Spanish setup for various states. That's good. The Spain setup seemed a bit, I don't know, it seemed weak to me, or at least very easy to exploit. Improvements to India setup for various states. India always seems to form into 3 empires. I wonder if that's going to change. Fixed several minor text issues. Fixed several minor event trigger issues. Wife no longer tries to murder your son if he's already dead. Okay. Fixed an issue, a minor database bug with the Deriva dynasty. Added some missing characters in later bookmarks. Fixed some character bugs in later bookmarks. Holy Order castle building event should now only be shown to the relevant characters. Ambition become exalted no longer gives a nickname. This should make other nicknames appear more often. The coat of arms of the Most Serene Republic of Venice is now red and gold. Fixed a bug where the reformed Tengri characters would never join the Holy Order. Changed some province names in Latvia. Added missing text for restore in ecumenical patriarch decision. Added many new events to support the new hiding option for murder plots. Renamed Norse religion to Germanic. I'll need to remember that one. Created various new de jure duchies in Russia and Finland. Forming the HRE via decision now also costs some money. And yeah, I've definitely seen this one in my Charlemagne playthrough that I've started, because that is our objective. Removed Raise County Levies button. Added a button to the military scheme to call all tribal vassals to war. Can also call all allies to war via this button. This is an interesting thing. It's actually pretty good because it shows you whether your allies are likely to say yes, which means that you can not waste your time if they're just going to say no. But then there's also no penalty because if you get into another war the timer resets, so you might as well click it. Made expel the Jews modifier icon red. Okay. Added support for tracking the acquisition of a title, also scriptable, so modding. Disabled assassination diplomatic interaction. This is really big because this means plots are going to be your only way to kill adventurers, I believe, so that's useful. Well, that's useful to know. But I get the feeling adventurers are going to be a large problem when before you could really solve it if you had a lot of money. Added automatic handout of titles by councillor. That's interesting. Does that mean kind of like no hassles vassals, where you can just say you get a whole bunch of new land and you just say, give it to your councillor and say go hand it out? Maybe we'll see. Added observe mode. I thought that was already in. Maybe that's if for multiplayer, maybe someone can observe. Because I'm sure you could do it with the console before. Balanced retinues to have less emphasis on heavy units. Balanced retinues to be less and more expensive. Okay, so different. Balanced values of unit types across the board. Okay, so I'm going to have to relearn all of unit types because I can barely remember them now. Fixed so you can't imprison faction members without cause easily. Okay. Remove the Norse ship tech bonus. Fixed cloud saves not being transferred. Fixed so you can't chat with char status information anymore in Iron Man. Chat with char? I guess maybe you could talk to char. I don't know. I have no idea what that is. Improve the character selection window by adding a search function. That's pretty good. Added search for claims functionality to the search function of characters. Again, really good. Regents now actually meddle in the management of the state. Yeah, well, because before they were just kind of, you've got a regent. It's pretty much still you. You can now appoint your regent before accidents happen. Fixed banishment and imprisonment of baronies and powerful ruler exploit. Now saves the multiplayer auto-assign their human to their character. That's pretty good. That means you can't forget who we're playing as next time you go into the game. Added a proper OOS pop-up dialogue. I don't know what OOS is, but I'm sure if someone told me, I would know what it is. Added char ID option to trade console lobby. removed server lost message in in-game lobby, made game more sensitive to OS, fixed invalid tooltip in real MView, added support for launcher to show version number and check some of the base game, no longer unjustly imprisoned when a third-party faction presses your claim, no longer possible to gain creation prestige and parity multiple times for creating the Kingdom of Jerusalem title, fixed an issue with the old event where you could ask yourself to release your spouse from your prison. That didn't make sense while saying it. Added de jure Duchy of Kola in northern Finland. Slight changes to North African province religion setup in 867. I imagine it's to do with the new Ibadi religion, but it's not new. It was a heresy game, so I imagine they're spreading it around a little bit more. Moved Göttingen to de jure Duchy of Thuringen. Buying indulgence for your sin from the Pope now has a better opinion and parity effect than before, but can only be done once per lifetime. Could be interesting if you need just large amount of parity. Pagan Great Holy Wars, no longer blocked if head of religion is female. Added pillow conversation decisions for Paulicians and Messalians. I don't know who they are, but I shall have to find out. Fixed an issue with characters sometimes becoming locked from feasts and tournaments if a tournament host died. I believe this is what might make tournaments last forever sometimes. Regal numbers are no longer shown in the lobby before starting a game. It is now possible to upgrade your settlements for all your vassals, not just your vassal barons. That's pretty good if you want to mass upgrade everything, but by the time you have the money to do that, you could probably just steamroll the game. I don't know, we'll see. The wrong holding type modifier now affects both tax and levies. Fleet size is no longer increased by levy size modifiers. The assassination chance increase effect of your spy master has been replaced with a plot power increase against your plot target in the chosen province. This is really, really important because this is what's replacing your the old assassination thing. So instead of putting your spy master on who you want to kill and just throwing money at the problem, what this will do is you'll choose who you're going to kill, you invite people to your plot, then you'll put your spy master there and he'll make the plot more likely to succeed. Which could also, depending on the bonus, give you a large reason to put your spy master, to actually make your spy master not just study technology. Fixed a breaking issue with the tutorial. Good. It shouldn't be broken. Fixed a bug where leads could take over a war of their vassal when they had a truce with the target. Fixed a bug where vassals would keep their wars even when their liege joined the war on the same side as the target. I didn't know that you could do that. Now properly include special units when calculating mercenary costs. Fixed a serious bug with the is capital trigger when used in character scope. Fixed a bug with the effect spawn unit where it could no longer match forces versus vassal settlements correctly. Councillor job actions can now give monthly parity and prestige. The disband on peace option in the spawn unit effect now only takes effect once there's actually been a war. Okay. Fixed an issue with the shown pretenders under elective Gavelkind. Elective Gavelkind. Increase the medieval misogyny AI nomination factor. I don't know what that is, but it sounds interesting. Corrected the bastard uncles of Charlemagne so they don't have legitimate Carling offspring. Made the Elective Gavelkind Junior Heir Succession event available without the Charlemagne DLC. Okay. Tribes are now allowed to raid regardless of their religion, though still only against other religions. Okay, so you no longer have to be like one of the specific ones designated. This one can raid. You can now just raid all the time as a tribe, but I believe this is because tribes can now reform and stop being tribes, which then cuts off the raiding. So it's a little bit of a give and take there. To swear fealty, the new liege must either be a neighbour or the jure liege of your capital. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know whether this would have stopped what I did at the start of my Cagliari Let's Play, where I swore fealty to Italy, because we were on an island, so I don't know if we could have done that, whether that counts as neighbour. But hopefully that means not much is going to change there. I guess that it stops you randomly joining the Byzantine Empire, which is something that was quite fun. Take it out from the inside. Added designated regent minor title description. Increased MTTH for Ramadan events. Covering the current ambition shows the on success effect. Fixed a rare issue of tournaments getting stuck in a limbo. Ah, this is it. Stuck in a limbo. This is if you started a war. As your tournament started, your tournament would never end, and you'd consistently get your entire realm dying, because they all joined the tournament and they all died. It is now possible to see all laws of your liege titles in the law view. Good, that should be there from the start. Rework system for Ramadan events, they will no longer pop up in a bunch at the same time. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of the DLC. Vassal limit. Vassal limit indicates how many landed vassals you can hold without getting a penalty. Barony tier vassals do not count. Okay, so there is a new thing up next to your prestige that is your vassal limit, and it's just exactly the same as your realm size, except it's for vassals. Your vassal limit is increased by family prestige and the diplomacy skill of the ruler and the spouse of the ruler. So, to increase your vassal limit, it will increase as the game goes on, because your family will get more prestige. And as long as you keep diplomacy high with you and your spouse, you should be fine. And this also encourages giving out titles to your family, because the more titles your family has when each member of the family dies, the more prestige will be given, will be added to the family prestige thing due to the titles they hold. Tribal vassals do not count for vassal limit unless the liege is also tribal. So if you conquer a bunch of tribals, they won't count towards your vassal limit. So you can have as many tribal vassals as you like, but I believe tribal vassals don't have to come in on your wars. It's like a prestige thing, so they'll come in if you are the strongest kind of thing. The penalty for being over vassal limit is a negative modifier for taxes and levies from vassals, ignoring any min modifiers from Crown Authority. So you get less taxes and levies if you happen to go over your vassal limit. Pretty normal way of at least solve things. Being over vassal limit will now allow distant vassals to become independent when the liege dies. The number of vassals that get this choice equals the number over the vassal limit the lieges. So if your liege dies and you're over your vassal limit by quite a lot, essentially the way I'm seeing this is your liege was directly able to control a certain number of vassals and they would follow him, but he was also kind of overextending to further ones out, and when he dies, they're just they're no longer under the control of the realm. And vassal limit penalties now apply first after new vassals have been held for 60 days. So what this means is you're not going to take over a whole bunch of new land, get loads of new vassals, die and have them all go independent. This will only happen if this has been over 60 days, so you have plenty of time to sort your vassals into a nice hierarchy. So I'm liking that. Vice royalties. Vice royalties are titles that revert back to the liege when the owner dies. To be able to grant vice royalties, you need to have the correct vice royalty laws unlocked through legalism technology. So this one, I think is the one I was thinking earlier for viceroys. I think it's the same thing. You basically, imagine that you have, say you're an empire, and you have lots of kingdoms around the place. But right now you just don't want to deal with it, say Italy, as a kingdom. So you'd be able to give a viceroy control of Italy for the length of their, until they die, and then you'll get Italy back when you're in a better shape to actually deal with it. Which is cool, and I assume that you would have to call these people into wars, although it doesn't necessarily say, so maybe you can still get their full levies. I don't know. Tribals. Instead of crown authority, tribals will use the tribal organization laws. Unreformed pagans will dislike increasing tribal organization, where other vassals will prefer and vote for increasing tribal organization. So much like crown authority so far. A decision can be taken as a tribal in order to adopt feudalism or to found a merchant republic, which can be taken when a tribal holding has a fully upgraded hill fort or market town. The realm has max tribal organization. The liege is not an unreformed pagan. The capital province is coastal, required only for players and the found a merchant republic decision. Okay, so is this, I assume this has to be all of them? So you've got to have all of these things, but players have to have the capital province as coastal province. While the AI could do this when the capital province is inland, which is interesting. I don't know why this is, but something to know. Vassals in tribal realms with low tribal organization can become independent when the liege dies, especially if the heir has the weak trait. Okay. So if your heir is strong, they'll follow you. If the heir is not strong, they won't follow you. Tribals can in wartime use a decision to raise event troops in exchange for prestige, which will be disbanded when the current war ends. So this is kind of the more prestigious you are, the stronger you are, the more people you can get in a moment's notice. Non-tribals can always, for free, revoke tribal vassal titles from vassals of a different religion. Okay, that's pretty cool. A liege cannot build any holdings in tribal provinces owned by a tribal vassal. This is showing that they are very independent, which is quite good. Decadence. The decadence events will now only trigger for characters who have a king or a ruler with at least 7 in realm size as close kin. So you need to have someone relatively strong as your close kin. Religions with the landed kin prestige bonus flag enabled will now get a prestige bonus for having landed kings as your vassals. The Straighten Up decision can now be taken again after 10 years. The Straighten Up decision events have more outcomes, and the decadent character can now attempt to strike back. Some Straighten Up outcomes do not give the dynasty head free imprisonment. Added CB for usurping decadent dynasty members, added event chain for assassinations targeting decadent characters. This is pretty cool, this particular one, because there's showing that there's more ways to assassinate people now that they've taken out the have money assassinate thing. But I don't really play decadent characters, so I don't know. Technology. The short reign year's effect was moved from legalism to majesty. Okay. The realm size effect was removed from legalism. The legalism tech is now used to unlock laws such as crown authority, vice royalties, harsh vassal taxation, and max vassal levies. So that kind of makes me think that you've... Well, alright, so it says the Demay's size effect was removed, but actually, because it there's a law that centralization law, that's where it's been moved to. I think that this legalism tech will also affect that law. So, in a way they removed it, in a way I think it's still there. Short reign penalties being moved to majesty though, this might give you a reason to raise majesty a lot more because the short reign penalty is generally pretty bad. Doubled all bonuses given by light infantry, heavy infantry, cavalry, and siege equipment technologies. Gives you a reason to actually put anything into them. Double tech cost penalty for being ahead of time. So this is definitely trying to get you to spread out your technology across multiple things. They're trying to make it a little bit more interesting because at the moment it's military organization legalism, and for the other one really don't care. Maybe some taxes. AI fixed issues where AI was unable to invade using already raised ships. This was preventing characters with event spawn ship adventurers from invading. I think we saw this in the Cagliari Let's Play, I'm not 100% sure. Fixed an issue where AI would repeatedly split and rejoin armies, causing them to get stalled. AI emperors can now grant kingdom titles. Okay. Converter. So they've added some new things to the converter. Gonna skip that. And the rest is modding, which I don't personally do, and this is only for people who are modding. That appears to be the entire patch notes. If you stuck with me this far, well done. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.